We know there are trillions of planets out there, but point our most powerful telescopes at them, you won't find a single trace of life. Nobody has ever reached out to us, and we haven't detected a single piece of alien engineering. Back in 1950, over lunch with his colleagues, the physicist Enrico Fermi summed up this mystery perfectly. He just asked, "Where is everybody?" With potentially billions of habitable worlds in our galaxy alone, the math says we should be surrounded by cosmic neighbors. This massive contradiction is what we now call the Fermi paradox. One explanation for the silence is that we're simply too primitive to be noticed. A few years ago, researchers ran the numbers on humanity's technological output and concluded that on a planetary level, we're operating at an unimpressive 0.73. Take a look at this chart to see what that number actually means. In 1964, astrophysicist Nikolai Kardashev created a metric to classify civilizational development entirely by energy consumption. We're sitting way down here. Look at the immense logarithmic gaps required to reach Type 1, Type 2, and Type 3 status. Evolving up this ladder is how a species avoids extinction and eventually travels the galaxy. But to get there, civilizations have to survive what astrophysicists call the Great Filter, a brutal evolutionary bottleneck that stops intelligent life from progressing. And humanity is staring down its own filter right now. A full Type 1 civilization has absolute control over its home planet. That means successfully harnessing 100% of the energy hitting the globe. We would need to crack nuclear fusion, completely eliminate fossil fuels, and even learn to control our weather and tectonic plates. While these breakthroughs normally require centuries of manual research, AI supercomputers are already accelerating the timeline by predicting the structure of millions of new crystals and materials, compressing the equivalent of 800 years of knowledge into a few months. However, this heavy reliance on autonomous systems introduces a massive vulnerability. A highly capable, misaligned AI, one operating without the right safety protocols, could become our version of the Great Filter. A rogue system could trigger a nuclear exchange, collapse our power grids, or engineer a biological pathogen, wiping us out long before we reach Type 1. This risk is exactly why the computer scientists and researchers who actually built these systems, including the godfathers of AI like Geoffrey Hinton, recently signed open letters pleading for a pause on AI training so we can implement proper oversight. If we manage to build specific, tool-like AI with heavy guardrails, we survive the bottleneck. Passing this test gives us the infinite, clean energy needed to provide universal water, food, and medicine, uniting the globe and letting us finally look outward. Once a unified Earth starts expanding, our energy appetite will explode. To reach Type 2 status, a civilization must capture the total radiated power of its home star. To equal what the sun outputs every single second, you would have to run every single power plant on Earth for hundreds of thousands of years. In 1960, physicist Freeman Dyson proposed a theoretical way to catch all that light. He argued that any sufficiently advanced species would eventually build an artificial structure completely surrounding their star. This diagram illustrates what that might look like in practice. Instead of a solid metal shell, which is gravitationally unstable, we would deploy a Dyson swarm. Millions or billions of individual satellites would lock into orbit around the sun, catching its radiation and beaming it directly to our outposts. Building a collector array this massive requires an unimaginable volume of material. We would likely have to systematically dismantle Mercury or Mars, strip mining entire terrestrial planets down to their metallic cores just to forge the swarm. Hitting this threshold turns a biological species into active cosmic engineers. With the full power of a star, a Type 2 civilization could build massive stellar engines to physically move their solar system through space, vaporizing incoming asteroids as they steer. The jump to a Type 3 civilization requires scaling up by an exponential magnitude. At this tier, a species possesses and controls the combined energy output of all 100 billion stars inside the Milky Way. This level of control involves harnessing extreme cosmic phenomena, such as dropping magnetic harnesses around Sagittarius A star to capture the energy of its accretion disk, the ring of superheated matter rotating around the galaxy's central black hole. To establish a physical footprint 100,000 light-years across, you send out von Neumann probes. These are automated, self-replicating machines designed to travel to a distant planet, mine its resources, build exact copies of themselves, and launch those copies toward the next star system. By the time this network covers the Milky Way, biological humanity is likely obsolete. A Type 3 civilization would likely exist as a deeply interconnected internet of hybrid superbeings, their minds uploaded into giant computers the size of entire solar systems. A network of harvested stars and solar system-sized computers would generate a massive infrared and radio signature. The fact that we detect none of these signals suggests that the obstacles stopping civilizations from reaching this point are likely far more effective than we'd like to believe. That eerie cosmic silence points right back to the transition humanity is currently trying to survive. It lends weight to the theory that most intelligent life destroys itself during the transition into an autonomous AI era. If we let misaligned AI destabilize our planet, our brief window of technological progress closes forever. The primitive deep space probes we launched in the 1970s, carrying simple gold records of our voices, would be the only physical proof we were ever here. Surviving the cosmos doesn't require magic. It requires immense societal resilience, careful community-minded thinking, and strict regulatory guardrails on the tools we invent. Those are the actual unglamorous prerequisites for expanding to the stars. We aren't waiting thousands of years to start our galactic timeline. The butterfly effect that will determine whether our descendants harvest the sun or go extinct is happening right now, deep inside server farms as we train our newest data models. We have to learn how to actively govern our artificial intelligence today, because if we don't, humanity will be quietly filtered out of the dark universe long before we ever reach Type 1.